welcome back to the Matharu kitchen. I'm Kat and today we are going to make sweet and sour seaweed mushroom. This is a vegan recipe inspired by two of my favorite childhood dishes, seaweed chicken and sweet and sour pork. I know you are no stranger to sweet and sour pork, but today we will share with you a vegan version of how we make it in Matharu kitchen. Alright, let's get started. First, let's run through the ingredients that we need for today. There are two components to this recipe. First, it's to create the seaweed mushroom, aka seaweed chicken. And second is to create a sweet and sour sauce. Now for the sweet and sour sauce, we will need assorted peppers, white onion, wood ear mushroom, garlic, ketchup, rice vinegar. You can change up the toppings for the sauce. If you like, you can also add pineapple and cucumber. And for the next component, which is the seaweed mushroom, we will need assorted mushrooms. Here I'm using the oyster mushroom, king oyster mushroom, enoki mushroom, and firm tofu. I'll be using this to create the texture of the chicken. And of course, we will need nori sheets, which are seaweed sheets, to wrap the mushrooms later. And we'll be deep frying the mushrooms. So for the batter, we will need all-purpose flour, cornstarch and baking powder, sparkling water, and for seasoning, we'll be using sugar, salt, and pepper. Okay, now we have all our ingredients ready. Let's begin. Okay, I will first start with preparing the toppings that I'll need for the sweet and sour sauce. I'm using an assorted of peppers. So here I have some small bell pepper and green pepper. So up to you. You can just use one color or the bigger ones if you can find. So we'll first dice the pepper. I really like these small yellow peppers. They're so sweet, so yummy. I love it when the dish is so colorful. Next, I will also cut the fresh wood ear mushroom to smaller pieces. It will be best if you can find the fresh ones. If you cannot, there are the dried wood ear mushrooms that you can find in supermarket. You just need to soak them in water to rehydrate it and they work just fine. Cut them about the same size as the bell pepper. Next, we need half of a white onion. We are going to dice it the same size as the bell pepper. And finally, we'll mince about 1.5 cloves of garlic. Okay, we are done with prepping the toppings. We will now move on to creating the sauce. So here I have some ketchup and I'll add some sugar. Some rice vinegar. A little bit of salt. Let's mix this up. Now that it's mixed well, we will set this aside. We will probably have to adjust the seasoning later on when we start cooking. So the next step would be to prepare the chicken. Today I'm using the oyster mushroom, king oyster mushroom, enoki mushroom, and the firm tofu to try and mimic the tenderness and the stringiness of a piece of chicken. First, let me just prepare the tofu. It is important to use a firm tofu and not the Chinese tofu or silken tofu because that will be too soft for you to handle later. What we're going to do is to assemble pieces of the mushrooms and the tofu and wrap it up with seaweed. Make make sure that the tofu is not too soft, otherwise it's going to be really hard to wrap them up. So I'm going to cut the tofu into strips. Like that. Next, enoki mushroom. I'll just cut off the ends. And fan it out a little bit for handling later. Next, we will prepare the king oyster mushrooms. You can cut away the ends. Now you have to peel the king oyster mushrooms into strips. Don't cut it. We need to peel it into strips. This will help the texture to be more like a chicken. King oyster mushroom is really versatile if you are trying to mimic some meat dishes. You see, now we are peeling it this way. Doesn't it look like a piece of chicken? I love working with king oyster mushroom. It's not too strong of a flavor, so it's easy for you to marinate and it will absorb the flavor really well. Alright, now we have the chicken strips. You can randomly make some a little bit smaller so that there is some variations in the texture, so it's more natural. Doesn't look so engineered. So now we'll prepare the other oyster mushrooms. This oyster mushroom has a stronger flavor, so we're adding this to enhance the flavor of the seaweed mushroom. So same thing, we are going to peel it with our hands. So we're not gonna cut the mushrooms, just peel it like that. Although this is also oyster mushroom, this has a softer texture compared to the king oyster mushroom. So by combining them together, you get different, you get a variety of textures, stringy texture, so it's more like a chicken. Alright, now we have the mushrooms prepared. We will now wrap it up into the seaweed mushroom. What we're gonna do is to take a little bit of everything and then wrap them up with the seaweed. So take a little bit of the enoki mushroom. You can break it into two, like that. Take one piece of the tofu, some king oyster mushroom, and a little bit of the oyster mushroom. Take the seaweed, hold it tight, and you wrap it up. Dab a little bit of water onto the end of the seaweed, and ta-da! Seaweed mushroom. And we will repeat this process until we're done with making the mushrooms. Okay, we have about 30 seaweed mushrooms here. Don't they look like seaweed chicken? So now we will keep them aside while we work on the batter. I'm using the same batter that I use for my tempura recipe. So if you're interested in how to make tempura and cold somen noodle, you can click here and check the recipe out. So we will need some all-purpose flour. Here I have a mixture of baking powder and cornstarch, and some salt, a little bit of black pepper, and some soda water. Check for the consistency. This looks about right. A little runny, but still on the thicker side. Okay, now that we have the batter ready, Mushrooms ready, we will deep fry. Put the mushroom into the batter. And then put in the oil. Slowly. And just keep doing this until we are done frying them. Okay, now mushrooms are ready. We will make the sweet and sour sauce. Here I have a pot, added 2 tablespoons of oil. You can add in the onion first. We'll fry for about a minute or so until it's a bit translucent. Then we add in the garlic. Very fragrant, very nice. Okay, then we add in our pepper and the wood ear mushroom. Okay, now reduce the flame. Add in the mixture that we created. Give it a good stir. Then add a little bit of water to thin it out. Now at this point, let's check the seasoning. It's a little bit closer to the sweet side. A little bit more of the rice vinegar, just a dash. You can definitely do a bit more of the salt. Just add a good pinch. As you can see, the sauce is not exactly runny, so we don't need the cornstarch slurry. Now, final step is to add in the seaweed chicken. In they go. Toss them well. Mix it all up. Make sure every piece of the mushroom is coated with the sauce. Alright, and we are done. Sweet and sour seaweed mushroom. Alright, let's do a taste test. Shall we? Every time at this stage, I am very hungry. Wow. Oh, very good, very good, very good. The batter helps to absorb the flavor of the sauce really well. It's sweet, sour. The seaweed mushroom really tastes like seaweed chicken. It's not heavy or thick. It's really light, it's crunchy, it's tender, it's seaweedy. Alright, we have come to the end of today's video, and if you've liked it, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell so you know when the next video is out. If you liked today's recipe, do give it a try, and if you did, comment down below and let us know how it was. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!